The bolt shell catches her in the chest. She feels the ceramite crack, feels superheated metal punch through armor, through flesh, through bone. Her hearts stop, first the left, then the right. The world tilts, her knees strike blood-soaked ground. She's dying, again. But dying is not the end, it never is. Light erupts from the wound. Her Gemini scream her name. Wings of living flame burst from her shoulders, splitting the air with a sound like cathedral bells. The bolt wound closes. Her hearts thunder back to life. She rises. The heretics who thought they'd killed her fall to their knees. Some weep, some pray, some scream. This is Saint Celestine. She dies, she returns, always. And no one, not the ecclesiarchy, not the Inquisition, not even she herself, knows why. Sister Aurelia watched it happen for the first time on Hydris Prime. She was there when her squad leader, a woman named Celestine, unremarkable except for her faith, took a tyrannid scything talon through the spine. The blade emerged from her chest, blood fountained. Celestine's eyes went wide with shock, then empty with death. Aurelia caught her body as it fell. "Medicai! Medicai, she's down!" But there was no coming back from that wound. The talon had severed everything. Celestine's blood soaked Aurelia's armor. Her weight went limp and heavy, dead weight. The tyrannids pressed forward. The sisters, line buckled. Aurelia laid the body down gently, whispered a prayer for the fallen, and prepared to die herself. Then Celestine's eyes opened. Not gradually, not the flutter of unconsciousness. They snapped open, bright and burning with light that had no natural source. "Holy Throne," someone whispered. Celestine sat up, the wound in her back and chest sealed with white fire. Not healing, reversing. Blood flowed backward, flesh knitted, bone fused. Within seconds, there was no wound at all. Wings materialized, not metaphorical, not symbolic. Actual wings of flame and light, spreading from her shoulders as if they'd always been there, just hidden beneath reality's surface. She stood. The tyrannids recoiled. "For the Emperor," Celestine said. Her voice was the same, exactly the same. She charged, alone, wreathed in fire. The tyrannids broke and ran. Tyrannids. Running. Aurelia stood frozen, watching her dead squad leader cut through alien horrors like they were nothing, like she was something far more than human, far more than a sister of battle, far more than anything the Imperium had words to describe. "What is she?" someone asked. No one had an answer. That was 300 years ago. Aurelia is long dead now, her bones dust on some forgotten battlefield. But Celestine endures, and the question remains. What is she? The Ministorum calls her a living saint, the greatest miracle of the modern Imperium, proof that the God Emperor still watches, still acts, still cares. The official story is clean. Celestine died in battle. The Emperor resurrected her. She serves as his avatar in the Materium, immortal until her purpose is fulfilled. But the details don't add up. Which order did she belong to? The records are vague. Which world did she come from? No one says. What was her name before she became Celestine? The archives are silent. It's as if she appeared fully formed, already a saint, with no past to examine or question. The Inquisition noticed this. They always notice inconsistencies. Inquisitor Catagrino Greyfax first heard of Celestine during the Coronis campaign. A miracle worker was turning battle single-handedly, a woman with wings, a sister of battle who could not die. Greyfax's first thought was, Daemon. Her second thought was, why hasn't anyone killed her yet? She diverted her ship mid-investigation, abandoning a heretic cell on Venesca 1V to pursue this more pressing threat. Because that's what Greyfax did. She hunted the dangerous. And nothing was more dangerous than something pretending to be holy. She found Celestine in the aftermath of the siege of Cusermyros. The city was rubble. The defenders were exhausted, wounded, singing hymns of gratitude. And there, standing in the cathedral's ruins, was a woman with wings of fire. Greyfax walked up to her. No ceremony, no announcement. Saint Celestine. The woman turned. Up close she looked human, young, maybe 30, though who could say. Her eyes were bright, unnaturally so, like sunlight through stained glass. "Inquisitor," Celestine said, calm, unsurprised. "I need to examine you." "Why?" "Because you're either the greatest miracle in Imperial history or the most dangerous heresy, and I intend to know which." Celestine smiled, not offended, not afraid. "Then test me." Greyfax subjected her to every examination the Inquisition possessed. Psychic probes. Celestine sat through them without flinching, her mind an open book of faith and duty. Holy wards. She stood in circles of sanctified salt and blessed silver, completely unaffected. Demonic banishment rituals. Grey Knight librarians chanted the most powerful exorcisms known to the Imperium. Celestine listened politely, waiting for them to finish. Blood tests, gene scans, warp taint analysis. Everything came back clean. Impossibly clean. Even the Emperor's custodes carry traces of warp energy. Even the most faithful saints showed something in the tests. Celestine showed nothing, or everything, depending on interpretation. "This isn't possible," Greyfax said, staring at the results. "And yet," Celestine replied, "you're too clean. Nothing is this clean. Even baseline humans carry micro-traces of warp exposure just from existing in this galaxy. Perhaps I'm exactly what I appear to be." "Nothing is what it appears to be." Celestine's expression was patient, almost amused. "You're afraid of me. I'm cautious of anomalies." "Is that what I am? An anomaly?" Greyfax met her eyes. "You're something that shouldn't exist. That alone makes you dangerous." "Then destroy me." The words hung in the air, a challenge, an invitation. Greyfax's hand moved toward her bolt pistol, not consciously, instinct. Celestine didn't move. Didn't tense, just watched with those bright, terrible eyes. "If you believe I'm a threat," Celestine said quietly, "then you have a duty to eliminate me. I won't resist. I've died before. I'll die again." "And return?" "Always." Greyfax's hand fell away from the weapon, because that was the problem, wasn't it? You couldn't kill something that came back. You could only delay it. "I'm not satisfied," Greyfax said. "I know. I'm going to keep watching you." "I know. If I find evidence, any evidence, of corruption, heresy, or demon taint, I will end you." Celestine nodded. "As you should." Then she smiled again, that same patient smile, and Greyfax felt something she rarely felt. Uncertainty. That uncertainty deepened 3 days later. Cornate berserkers attacked Greyfax's investigation site, a coordinated strike, timed perfectly for when most of her retinue was dispersed. They came howling, chain axes screaming, blood-mad and fearless. Greyfax fought well. She always did. But there were too many. Her armor cracked. Her weapons ran dry. Her retinue fell around her. A berserker's axe caught her across the ribs. She went down hard, gasping, blood filling her lungs. Through blurring vision, she saw the killing blow coming. Then, white light, searing, blinding. Celestine landed between Greyfax and the berserkers. No running, no dramatic flight. She simply appeared, as if she'd stepped through a door in reality that only she could see. "No," Celestine said. The berserkers attacked. 12 blood god champions, each one a veteran of 100 battles, each one beyond fear or reason. Celestine killed them all in 40 seconds. Not with power, not with overwhelming force. With precision. Her blade moved like water, like thought, finding gaps in armor that shouldn't exist, striking at angles that defied geometry. The last berserker fell. Celestine didn't even breathe hard. She turned to Greyfax, extended a hand. "Can you walk?" Greyfax stared at that hand. Blood dripped from her armor. Her ribs were broken. Her pride was worse. "Why?" she managed. Why, what? Why save me? I'm investigating you, questioning you. I'd destroy you if I could prove you were a threat. Celestine's expression softened. I know. That's why you needed saving. The Emperor needs people like you, Inquisitor. People who question, who doubt, who don't accept miracles at face value, even when they question you. Especially then. Greyfax took the hand. Let Celestine pull her to her feet. I still don't trust you, Greyfax said. Good, Celestine replied. Trust is earned. I haven't earned yours yet. You might never earn it. I know. And somehow, in that moment, standing in the blood of their enemies, something changed between them. Not trust, not friendship, but understanding. They would fight together, they would serve the Imperium together. And Greyfax would never stop watching, never stop questioning, never stop searching for the flaw that would prove her suspicions correct. Celestine accepted this. Even welcomed it. Because if she was something terrible wearing a saint's face, then the galaxy needed someone like Greyfax to stop her. The battles came one after another. Celestine moved through the galaxy like a comet, appearing at crisis points, turning impossible situations into victories, then vanishing before anyone could pin her down. On worlds whose names have been forgotten, she died and returned. Chaos invasions, orc sieges, tyrannid swarms. Each time the pattern repeated: death, light, resurrection, victory. But two battles stand out, two moments that revealed what she truly was. The first was Sartosa. The Necrons should have been unstoppable. Their Gauss weapons atomized matter at the molecular level. Their warriors were soulless machines that knew neither fear nor mercy. They had conquered death itself 60 million years ago, had fought gods and won. And they were massacring the Imperial defenders. Celestine arrived when the defense was collapsing. 3 regiments broken, the fortress monastery breached. The end measured in hours, not days. She landed in the central plaza as the Necrons advanced, her Gemini at her sides. 3 figures of light against an army of living metal. For the Emperor, she said, and charged. The Necrons calculated, analyzed, adapted. This was what they did. They were the perfect weapons, refined over millennia, designed to eliminate any threat through pure mathematical superiority. Celestine died in the first engagement. A Gauss flare caught her full in the chest. Her molecular structure destabilized. She came apart in a shower of light and ash. The Necrons advanced. Then she returned, 60 seconds later, reforming from nothing. The Necrons adapted. Next time, they positioned warriors to fire the instant she reformed, caught her before she could move, destroyed her again. She returned. They adapted again. Predicted her reformation point, surrounded it with overlapping fields of fire, destroyed her the moment light began to coalesce. She returned. This happened 17 times. Each time, the Necrons learned, calculated, adjusted their protocols. Their targeting became more precise, their timing more perfect. They were machine learning in real time, evolving their tactics to counter her resurrection with mathematical certainty. But something was wrong. On the 14th death, a Necron Lord's combat protocols registered an anomaly. The energy readings from her resurrections were increasing, not linearly, exponentially. On the 17th death, the Necrons tried their perfected strategy, surrounded her reformation point, fired with microsecond precision. Celestine erupted. Not reformed, erupted. The light didn't just bring her back. It exploded outward in a wave that overloaded every optical sensor in a 100-meter radius. The Necrons' targeting systems went dark. Their warriors, for the first time in 60 million years, experienced something their programming had no category for. Not damage, not system failure. Uncertainty. Celestine's wings had changed. They weren't fire anymore. They were light itself, raw and uncontained, burning with an intensity that registered on the Necrons. Sensors as impossible. Energy readings that matched small stars. Heat that should have vaporized everything around her. But didn't. She moved. Not fast, not slow, just moved, and where she moved, the Necrons fell. Her blade passed through living metal as if it weren't there. Passed through regeneration protocols as if they didn't exist. Passed through the very concept of their immortality and found the Necron-tier souls that had been locked away 60 million years ago. The Necron Lord's final calculation before its consciousness dispersed. This is not a weapon. This is not a being. This is an idea given form, and ideas cannot be killed. The Necron army retreated. Not tactically, not according to any protocol. They simply left, phased out, abandoned the field. Beings who had never known fear, who had conquered death itself, who had warred against the old ones and reduced gods to broken things, fled from a single human woman. When it was over, Saint Celestine collapsed. The light faded, the wings returned to normal flame, then vanished entirely. She lay on the ground for 10 minutes, breathing hard, looking at her own hands like they belonged to someone else. "What was that?" an Imperial commander asked, approaching cautiously. Celestine stood, slowly, like she was learning how her body worked. "I don't know," she said. And the fear in her voice was more terrifying than anything the Necrons had done. Sister Helena served in Celestine's personal guard for 5 years after Sartosa. This is rare. Most of Celestine's companions die. She doesn't maintain long-term attachments, doesn't form bonds. But Helena survived long enough to notice things. She noticed that Celestine never slept. Not once in 5 years. She prayed, meditated, stood vigil, but never slept. She noticed that Celestine would sometimes stand in front of mirrors, touching her own face like she was checking if it was real. She noticed the Gemini. The 2 warriors who flanked Celestine, winged and radiant, never speaking beyond hymns. And she noticed that they changed. Different faces, same power. Every few months, without warning or ceremony, the faces would be different. Helena never asked about it. Some questions shouldn't be voiced. She died on a battlefield, whose name doesn't matter, in a war that's already been forgotten, buying Celestine 3 extra seconds to reach a group of wounded guardsmen. Celestine held her as she bled out. "Was it worth it?" Helena whispered. "All those years. Was I real to you?" Celestine's expression cracked. Just for a moment, something raw showed through. "You are the realest thing in my life," she said. "I'm sorry I can't remember your face tomorrow." Helena died, confused by that answer. Celestine stood, spread her wings, and continued fighting. By the next day, she'd forgotten Helena's name. The Gemini remained. 2 warriors with different faces, serving with perfect devotion, never questioning, never remembering who they used to be. Then came Coronis. The word-bearers had summoned a greater daemon of Tinch, an ancient thing with a name that twisted reality just to speak it. A being that had witnessed the birth of gods and the death of species. It laughed when it saw Celestine. "A false saint," it said, its voice layered with harmonics that shouldn't exist in real space. "A puppet of dead faith, you are nothing." "Then I am nothing," Celestine replied, "but I serve the Emperor. That is enough." They fought for 3 days. The first day was a massacre. Celestine died 16 times. Each time, the demon banished her with contemptuous ease, tearing her apart with warp fire and geometries that existed in dimensions human minds couldn't process. Each time, she returned, weaker, slower. The second day, she died 11 times. Her resurrections came with more difficulty. The light dimmed, the wings flickered. The demon laughed. "See, you are finite, you are bounded, you are a creature of matter pretending to divinity. How many more times can you return, little saint? How many more deaths before there is nothing left to resurrect?" Celestine didn't answer. She just fought, died, returned, fought again. The third day she died only once. But she didn't return. Her body lay still. Minutes passed. Then, an hour. The Imperial forces watching began to despair. The demon, circling her corpse, began to gloat. Finally, The little saint runs out of faith. The Emperor's power fades. There is no more. Light. Not white this time, golden, pure, blinding. Celestine rose, but she was different, not taller, but more present, more real. Like everything else in the universe had become slightly translucent, and only she remained solid. Her wings weren't fire anymore. They were light itself, condensed and shaped and burning with purpose. "I am not the Emperor's power," she said. Her voice resonated, harmonics that matched the demons but somehow cleaner, truer. "I am humanity's faith given form, and faith does not die." She moved. The demon tried to counter. Its magics, ancient and terrible, struck her with the force of dying stars. She walked through them like they weren't there. Her blades struck once. The greater demon screamed. Not in pain, in fear. "Impossible!" it shrieked. "You are mortal. You are limited. You cannot." She struck again. The demon's essence didn't just vanish. It shattered, fragmented. Its fundamental existence damaged in ways that should only be possible in the deepest layers of the warp itself. The word-bearers fled. Celestine collapsed. The golden light faded. When she stood again, she was back to normal. Human-sized. Ordinary wings of flame. She looked at her own hands with an expression of confusion and horror. "What am I?" she whispered. No one answered. No one knew. The Inquisition reviewed the Coroni's footage and found no answers. Only more questions. Some whispered theories, warp entities born from collective faith, something new between daemon and saint. But no one truly understood what they'd witnessed. They filed their reports, added more surveillance protocols, and did what the Inquisition always does when confronted with the inexplicable. They watched, and waited, and hoped they'd never have to make a choice about what she truly was. On a nameless battlefield, on a forgettable world, a young guardsman lay dying. A tyrannid had gutted him. Celestine landed beside him, knelt down, held his hand. "Emperor preserve you," she said. The guardsman looked up at her, saw the wings, saw the light. "Are you an angel?" he whispered. Celestine's expression flickered. Just for a moment, something vulnerable showed through. "No," she said. "I'm just someone who can't die. There's a difference." "Will I see the Emperor?" "I don't know. I hope so." "Will you?" "Will I what?" "See him when you die. Do you see him?" Celestine was quiet. Her hand tightened on his. "No," she said finally. "I see nothing. Just darkness. And then I'm back." "That sounds lonely." "It is." The guardsman died. Celestine stood, spread her wings, flew back into battle. She died 3 more times that day. Each time she came back. She always comes back. The gathering storm changed everything. The galaxy fractured. Cadia fell. The great rift tore reality apart. And Celestine found herself at the center of events that would reshape the Imperium. She arrived on Solemnes somehow, bypassed Necron security somehow, and freed Inquisitor Greyfax and Archmago's Call from Trazyn the Infinite's collection. How remains unknown. Even Trazyn claims he doesn't remember losing them. Greyfax's first words upon release: "You took your time." Celestine smiled. "I got here when I was meant to." Together, Saint, Inquisitor, and Archmagos, they raced across the galaxy. Their mission: reach Macragge, resurrect Robut Guilliman, save the Imperium from total collapse. The Chaos Armada tried to stop them. They failed. The final battle on Macragge was apocalyptic. Black Legion, Death Guard, Thousand Suns, every Chaos force that could be spared converged on the single point that mattered: Guilliman's stasis chamber. The Imperium's defenders were outmatched, outgunned, outnumbered 10-1. Celestine fought at the forefront, a blazing figure of light and fury, holding the line through sheer force of will. She died. Came back. Died again. Came back again. The cycle repeated. Death and resurrection, faster and faster, the light growing dimmer with each return. Greyfax watched from her position, firing her bolt pistol with methodical precision, and counted. 14 deaths, 15, 16. On the 17th, something changed. Celestine fell to a Death Guard's plague blade. The wound was catastrophic. Her body hit the ground and didn't move. 10 seconds passed. No light. 20 seconds. Nothing. 30 seconds. Still nothing. "Get up," Greyfax muttered, firing at the Chaos forces pressing closer. "Get up, damn you." 1 minute. Celestine's body lay still. Her Gemini, for the first time anyone could remember, looked uncertain, lost. 2 minutes. The Chaos forces sensed victory. They pushed harder. The Imperial line buckled. "Get up!" Greyfax screamed, abandoning all dignity, all control. "We need you! Get up!" Nothing. 5 minutes. Call's calculations played out in real time. Chance of success without Celestine, 0.003%. Chance of survival, negligible. Estimated time to total collapse, 8 minutes. "We have to fall back," someone said. "No," Greyfax snarled. She stood over Celestine's body, bolt pistol in one hand, power sword in the other, and fired at anything that moved. "We hold. She's coming back. She always comes back." 10 minutes. But even Greyfax's voice had lost its certainty. The body lay still, cold, dead. The Chaos forces closed in. Death was seconds away. Greyfax looked down at Celestine one last time. Her expression was something between rage and grief. "Please," she whispered. Just that one word, the closest thing to prayer she'd ever voiced. And then, light. Not white, not golden. Something beyond both. Something that had no name in human language. It started small, a glow in Celestine's chest, right where her heart had stopped. Then brighter, and brighter, and brighter. The Chaos forces stumbled back, eyes burning from the intensity. Celestine's body didn't stand up. It smart rose, lifted by forces that had nothing to do with muscles or gravity. Her wings erupted, but they were different now. Not fire, not light. Something more fundamental, like reality itself was bending around her, creating the asterisk idea of wings, and that idea was so powerful it had to be real. Her eyes opened. They burned, not with fire or warp energy, but with something that looked like starlight distilled into human form. When she spoke, her voice was everyone and no one. It echoed with harmonics that shouldn't exist outside the warp. It carried weight that had nothing to do with sound. And no, one word. But it carried the force of faith. Not Celestine's faith. The faith of every human who'd ever prayed to the Emperor. The faith of every soldier who'd died believing their sacrifice mattered. The faith of every civilian who'd whispered prayers in the darkness and hoped someone was listening. 10,000 years of faith concentrated into a single word. The Chaos forces didn't just stop, they were pushed back, physically. As if the word itself had become a shockwave. Lesser demons simply ceased to exist, their essences unraveling like they'd never been. Greater demons shrieked and fled into the warp. The Chaos Space Marines, those ancient warriors who'd spent 10 millennia in the Eye of Terror, and thought themselves beyond fear, turned and ran. Celestine walked forward. Each step left glowing footprints that burned into the stone, that would still be visible centuries later when pilgrims came to this holy site. Her blade wasn't a blade anymore, it was judgment, it was faith-given edge, it was every prayer for deliverance ever whispered forged into something that could cut. She reached the Chaos line, or what remained of it, and they broke completely. The most fanatical warriors of the Dark Gods, the ones who'd never retreated in 10,000 years of endless war, fled before a single human woman. Because in that moment, Celestine wasn't human. She was the Imperium's belief made manifest. She was every desperate hope in a galaxy that had forgotten hope. She was proof that faith, however misguided or terrible, had power. And that power was absolute. The Chaos forces routed. Completely, utterly. They abandoned the field. Abandoned their objective. Abandoned everything just to get away from her. Celestine stood amid the carnage, burning like a star, and for a moment, just a moment, she seemed to stretch, to grow, to become something vast and terrible and divine. Then she collapsed. The light cut out like someone had thrown a switch. The wings vanished. She hit the ground hard, completely human again, gasping for breath like she'd just run a marathon. Greyfax ran to her, dropped to her knees beside her. What? What was that? Celestine looked up. Her eyes were her own again, normal, human, terrified. I don't know, she said. Her voice shook. I don't remember. I was dead. Really dead. I felt it end. And then? I was something else. Something bigger. And I can't remember what it was. She grabbed Greyfax's arm. Her grip was weak, desperate. What am I? She whispered. What the fuck am I? Greyfax had no answer. None of them did. When Guilliman awoke, when the Primarch's eyes opened after 10,000 years, Celestine was standing there, still weak, still shaking from whatever she'd become. He looked at her for a long moment. His expression was unreadable. Who are you? He asked. Celestine, a servant of the Emperor. The Emperor has many servants. Guilliman sat up slowly, processing, analyzing. What are you? Celestine hesitated. For the first time anyone could remember, she seemed uncertain. I am what humanity needs me to be. Guilliman's eyes narrowed. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. They stared at each other, Primarch and Saint, logic and faith, the Imperium's past and its present. Finally, Guilliman nodded. Then we will see what that means. Since then, Celestine has fought in the Indomitus Crusade. She has stood before the Golden Throne and spoken, or tried to speak, to the Emperor. She has seen the Imperium at its worst and its best, and still she endures. Greyfax watches her constantly, looking for the flaw, looking for the crack that will prove her suspicions correct. She hasn't found it, but she hasn't stopped looking. Once, during a rare moment of quiet between battles, Greyfax asked her, Are you tired? Celestine looked up, surprised. What? Tired. After 3 centuries, after dying hundreds, maybe thousands of times. Are you tired? Celestine was quiet for a long time. Yes, she said finally. I'm tired. Then why not stop? Let yourself stay dead next time. You've earned rest. Have I? You've done more for the Imperium than 100 regiments, than most saints who ever lived. If anyone has earned peace, it's you. Celestine smiled, but it was a sad smile, distant. I don't think that's how this works. How? What works? Whatever I am, whatever keeps bringing me back. I don't think it cares about what I've earned. I don't think it cares about what I want. What do you want? Celestine looked at her hands, turned them over, studying them like they belonged to someone else. I don't remember anymore, she said softly. I remember duty, purpose, the next battle. But what I wanted before all this, what the woman I was hoped for, that's gone. I can't even recall her face. That's horrifying. Yes. Does it hurt? Not knowing, no. But sometimes I think it should. Sometimes I think the fact that it doesn't hurt is the worst part. Greyfax was quiet. Then, if I could prove you were a threat, if I had evidence, I'd kill you. I know. It would be a mercy. Celestine looked at her. Her expression was gentle, understanding. I know that too. They never spoke of it again. What is Saint Celestine? After 3 centuries, the Imperium still doesn't know. Is she blessed by the Emperor? Perhaps. Is she a warp entity? Possibly. Is she something new? Something that exists in the space between materium and immaterium, between life and death, between human and divine? Maybe. Or maybe she's all of these things, and none of them. Maybe she's what happens when faith becomes so powerful it takes physical form, when humanity's desperation creates its own answer, when belief is strong enough to bend reality. The truth might not matter. Because regardless of what she is, regardless of how she exists, regardless of whether she's blessed or cursed or something beyond those categories entirely, she fights, she dies, she returns. And as long as the Imperium needs her, as long as humanity cries out for salvation, as long as faith endures, Saint Celestine will endure with it. She can't stop, can't rest, can't die, and stay dead. Because the Imperium needs its living saint, its miracle, its proof that the Emperor still watches. She is what humanity made her. And humanity is not kind.